So it's another day in the garage. We got the transmission removed from the engine. It's over there, it's sitting on a pallet. It's ready to go down to power-driven diesel. I spent a little bit this morning installing these new shop lights here in this garage. So I have a little bit better light to work with. I think we're gonna start tearing down this engine a little bit. First of all, we're gonna dive into the timing cover case to make sure that that killer dowel pin has either been done or needs to be done, and hopefully we don't see any damage from it falling out and, you know, causing damage. One quick thing I did off of the camera was I took off the flex plate that's on the back of the engine. So that's sitting over there with the transmission as well. Before we do anything with this engine, I want to clean it off because it is covered in something. It's either oil or soot or yes. So we're just gonna clean it off a little bit, get it down to where it's in somewhat of a working condition, and then we'll start tearing into it. So let's do that real quick. Cleaned off. Kind of felt like I was fighting a losing battle. This thing is just covered in oil, which will make it easier to take parts off, but you know, kind of makes me question how many things are leaking. But I know diesels are covered in oil all the time, so it's really not that big of a deal. I tried getting this clutch off, but I don't have a big enough size wrench to get that off. I read online, I think it's a 34mm wrench, and the largest I have is 1 1/8". So I'm gonna run to the store and grab a big enough wrench for that, and then we can get back into tearing this down. So I'll be right back. The parts store wanted $80 for a fan clutch removal kit. It's just a wrench. So for less than half the price, we went with Big Bertha here. Oh, yes! Oh, finally! So you remember how I was talking all that bogus about that special tool at the parts store? Well, actually, this did just fine, but I had to go get this water pump holder thing for the clutch fan because it just kept spinning the water pump pulley every time I went to turn on it. So this finally saved my life. That was on there really, really well. So finally that's off. We can actually get to everything else. That took way too long. Probably gonna call it for tonight. I've been working on this all day. That stupid clutch fan, or fan clutch, was a pain, and it took me quite a while to get it off, but got everything else off so far. I don't have a gun that's strong enough to get these crank pulley bolts off, so I'm going to figure that out, and I'll come back at it again another day. But for you guys, it's just going to be a couple seconds, so I'll see you in a second. Okay, so we got the crank, or the timing cover off, timing crank case cover, something, I don't know. Anyways, here is the dowel pin. They press it in from the factory, and it has a tendency to work itself out with all the vibrations of the diesel engine. So the fix that I got in this box here from Power Driven Diesel is just a little tab that you place there on that screw right there, and then it just fits right over and holds that dowel pin in place. The kit comes with a new pin, but we won't need it. We can just hammer that back in. And then we also got, I think this is the crank pull, or the crank seal that we're gonna put on too. And then also there's the gasket. So we'll go ahead and punch this back in, get that on there, and then we'll start putting everything back together. Okay, so it's been a couple of weeks since I've worked on the old 12 valve here. It's only been a couple seconds for you guys, but I've done a couple things off camera, not many, but just a few, so I just want to bring you guys up to speed real quick. So over here on the NV4500, I took off this rear tail housing to inspect what the condition is of the 5th gear nut and see if we need to change it out. So what I found is the previous owner welded the 5th gear nut. So, which isn't a bad thing. It's not like ideal, but it'll get us to town and whatnot. I think this will be okay for most of my applications. So if anything ever does go wrong with this transmission, I'll probably end up upgrading to either a G56 or an NV5600 or ZF6. But for the current conditions, I think this transmission is going to do great. At least get the truck up and going and running for who knows how long. As long as the transmission will last, and we'll start throwing power at this once we get it up and going, but that's obviously for the future. So that's one thing that I've done. So all I need to do is get this guy back together, get some gasket sealer around it, and put it back together. What I haven't gotten yet still is the bell housing. I was trying to get one used on Facebook Marketplace, but everybody and their dog won't sell it without the transmission, which is understandable. But I've also seen tons of transmissions for sale without the bell housing, so I'm just confused. I've also done is we've addressed the killer dowel pin. Me and my brother tried pounding it back in there, and we got it in as far as we could, but it wouldn't go in any farther. What is this guy? I can't remember what this is. Oh, this. Okay, so this is the seal installation tool for this guy into the timing cover. So I'm going to get this installed in here and use that little tool that I bought to get that installed. But before I do any of that, I'm actually going to paint this. I don't like how it looks. So I went to the Bart store and I got me just some VHT primer and some engine enamel. So I'm going to go ahead and paint that just to make it look a little better. And if there's any leaks in the future, it'll be easier to track. Last thing. So when we were removing the automatic transmission, when we were removing the pulley on the front of the engine, I didn't have a gun to get the front bolts off, so we ended up putting a torque wrench in between some of these bolts just to keep the engine from moving. And we ended up messing up the threads on these two here. That's why you don't see any bolts in there. So I still need to get a thread chaser kit and go back in here and fix those before I can install the flywheel, which is over here. This is the other thing that I did off camera. I ordered a South Bend clutch and flywheel. So this is the, I want to say 13125 OK HD, I think. This is for the stock input shaft over there on the NV4500. So hopefully if anything goes wrong, it goes with the clutch before the transmission, but we'll see. So this guy is rated for 425 horsepower and 900 foot-pounds. So I'm excited to get that in, but we can't get that in until we get bell housing, clutch fork, everything mounted on there. So I'm just going to paint this here, take you guys along for the ride, and yeah. So out of place, but I had to see what it looked like on there. That looks amazing, actually. Cool. So yeah, this is the color that I'm thinking I'm gonna go with for these valve covers up here. I'll end up doing that before we drop the engine in the truck, but yeah, I'm really happy with how that turned out. I don't know what other pieces I could do to make it kind of blend together. I feel like that with the valve covers, yeah, I think that would be a good contrast. That's gonna be it for this video. There's been a few weeks that have passed by in between the filming of this video, so it was mostly just me gathering parts together that I could get and investigating other parts of the engine so we could see what needed to be done. But now that we kind of have an idea for everything that has to be done, we don't have to get the 5th gear nut. I got the dowel pin installed, so now we just need those other transmission parts to get it all bolted together onto the engine itself, and then we can actually start taking the engine out of the F350 back here. If you guys are frequent followers of my channel, I'm not going to be able to post too much for the next coming weeks. I'm actually getting surgery done on my back, so I'm going to be recovering for a couple of weeks, but I should be able to get some content out in that time while I'm recovering. So just keep that in mind if you don't see too much. Hopefully it's a fast recovery and everything goes well, but I'll keep you guys posted. So thanks again for watching, guys. Hopefully next time in the next episode with this truck, we'll get a little more progress done and we can actually start working on the truck itself, not just the engine and transmission. So see you guys in the next video.